You gotta come over into the screen more. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
We are so happy to be with you this morning. Teresa has
Yes,
a clock.
here's the clock.
Let's see, no one can see the clock.
They will.
You have to- Nee.
Here's their clock. And we will be joining you in just a moment. We'll just
I'll wave the clock
get
around.
you
for
can
me.
wave the clock if you want to. We'll get
Otherwise,
things
you don't
rolling
see the
here.
clock. I like the clock. The clock is kind of a new addition.
Gives you a few seconds to do that.
We're not sure. We're not sure what angle this is. But we're really glad you're here. Is the thing.
Yes.
Good God, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry.
Old Ticky woke me up from many a bus driving session.
Good old Tiki.
Had a nightmare last night. I dreamed that I was trying to conduct bus driving on a moped. The idea is that I would just put one passenger at a time on the back of the moped, but the moped broke down.
Oh dear.
Yep.
That's not good.
Yeah, it was frustrating. I called into dispatch, but they couldn't get me another moped.
Oh, that is a shame.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's do this thing.
Okay.
We don't.
Weird drinky bird.
I don't know how the toys no longer. We usually breeze the thing afterwards. I get it now.
Yeah.
Hey,
You have it on its little podium.
and thereby above most of the little cute toys that you have going on.
Yeah. Well, again, I say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So glad you can be here. And I am Teresa Mitchell. This is Ani Haynes. And this is called This Is Now Bridge to a Better World. And this is Neo that you can't see, but he might get in the frame. Here
He
we
does
are.
that sometimes. He's a little stumbly this morning.
Yeah.
So are we.
Here we are at the second anniversary of the Shit-Stain Rebellion. And the same people who tried to end democracy are having a hell of a time trying to put it back together. It's worth noting that as Gropey Forehead and Boo Boo and Marge hold off the election of the House Speaker, they've been holding off the entire legislative branch of government. No laws can be passed without both chambers of the American Parliament. There is a lot of hoo-ha about whether the government will fail to fund itself, but that can be patched over with emergency decrees. You know, when push comes to shove, actually the government just keeps going. So that's not a problem. The big problem is that corporations control the government, not just in lobbying, but in a Koch brothers-led intentional sabotage. They have closed many polls. They have blocked many mail-in votes. They have thrown away votes. They have suppressed the vote in as many ways as they possibly can, so that the Republicans were able to squeak out a bare apartheid majority. I call it
And the gerrymandering. Let us not forget the gerrymandering.
Yes, the gerrymandering. And I call it an apartheid majority because it's not a true democratic majority. It's just a representational majority of their people. The majority of the American people, provably, over and over again, we've been able to prove the majority of American people don't want this sort of blocked up pro-corporate government. Nor do the cats. The cats are not interested in this.
I've been interested for some minutes now about whether Libby would in fact knock over the computer. She was looking like she needed to bat it.
Yeah.
We'll try to keep her away from being the force of destruction that she can be.
I explained to the cat that this sort of maldistribution of wealth that we have, with billionaires sucking wealth out of everyone, causing a large lumpen proletariat class, is a threat to her consumption of quality cat food. And so she's on board. One of the other problems that we have today, aside from the... Libby's not getting enough attention. Aside from the zoonotic disease circling the globe still and worsening apparently, is the direct effects of climate change. And predictions are that this year they will increasingly come home to roost. We're seeing it right now, of course. But I'd like to quote MIT Technology Review, which says that the DeepMind Computer Lab says that it's, that's the wrong, good morning. That's the wrong topic. First, I have a headline that's good news. So let me pass this on. The DeepMind Computer Lab says its AlphaFold tool has successfully predicted the structure of nearly all proteins known to science. From today, the Alphabet-owned AI lab is offering a database of over 200 million proteins to anyone for free. So that's Google doing something right for once. They write, when DeepMind introduced AlphaFold in 2020, it took the science community by surprise. Scientists had spent decades trying to understand how proteins, which are essential to life, are structured. It is considered one of the grand challenges of biology. Understanding how they are shaped is crucial to understanding how they function. Last year, DeepMind released the source code of AlphaFold and made the structures of 11 million proteins, including nearly every protein in the human body available in its AlphaFold protein structure database. The database was built together with European Molecular Biology Laboratory, that is, an international public research institute that already hosts a large database of protein information. The latest data release gives the database a massive boost. The update includes structures for plants, bacteria, animals, and many, many other organisms, opening up huge opportunities for AlphaFold to have impact on important issues such as sustainability, food, fuel, and neglected diseases. That's according to Dimas Hassabis, DeepMind's founder and CEO. I have two notes about that. First, we're not talking about artificial general intelligence, of course. We're just talking about a rather advanced management of computer programs. And of course, this will result in a tremendous movement towards the cure of cancer and the cure of various viruses. So this is good news indeed. We won't see the results, of course, for a little while, but it's set in motion. I saw an article recently saying there aren't any great groundbreaking scientific discoveries lately. Well, this would be one of those examples that will change the world in the way that Salk's vaccine or Edison's discoveries did.
I just have to comment that
Tesla's
as you were talking about DeepMind, I couldn't help
you
but
think of Douglas Adams.
Deep Thought is the supercomputer in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that is set to calculate the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, and came up with the answer 42.
Yes, well, happy 42 to everyone. It may cure cancer.
Deep Thought, DeepMind, I just can't help but thinking that perhaps they were inspired by one of the best books ever written. Carry on.
So, if I may stumble back to climate change.
Stumble away.
The first law of humanity, Bacalolo writing in Daily Code says, is not to kill your children. Hans Joachim Schellnhuber, atmospheric scientist, climatologist, and founder of the
Unless
Potsdam
you're like Kronos
Institute
in the Titans.
for Climate Impact Research, is responsible for that quote. Despite being in a La Nina climate cooling pattern, Kronos?
Wasn't it Kronos that ate his babies? No, that wasn't.
Yeah, it is.
It was,
actually,
yeah.
it's Saturn is Kronos.
All right.
Just depends on
There's some
whether you're
baby
talking-
eater, that I love the painting.
Just depends on
I've
whether
seen the
you're
painting being used in,
talking to a Greek or a Roman.
well, yeah, who was around 4,000 years ago. Details. Carry on.
Details.
Oh my
Despite being
God,
in a
our cat is a force of destruction this
Yeah.
morning.
like La Nina.
I'm sorry. I'm not usually quite so easily distracted, but she does keep hovering above things with her paw, looking at us as if to say, I will knock all of this over. Feed me.
And looking at the birds and going, kick, kick, kick,
Yeah,
which is cat for je te plumerai. Despite being in a La Nina climate cooling pattern, the world has endured deadly droughts, heat waves, and heavy rainfall floodings in 2022. It was a brutal year for billions as climate change supercharged the effects of La Nina, intensifying natural disasters across the earth. That pattern is expected to continue perhaps to August or fall of 2023, when the warming climate pattern of El Nino arrives. We'll be out of the frying pan and into the fire, as surface temperatures are expected to heat further, perhaps to the Paris milestone of 1.5 centigrade or higher, as climate breakdown continues to intensify unabated. In other words, we were spared the worst last year. We won't be spared this year by any means. The heat dome in Europe that's happening right now is moving east across Ukraine. But record-smashing January high temperatures erupted across Belarus, Denmark, the Czech Republic, Poland, the Netherlands, Latvia, Lithuania, and Liechtenstein. Temperatures were up to 36 degrees Fahrenheit above average. The heat dome blanketed Europe on New Year's Eve. Temperature records fell across the European continent on New Year's Day. The dome has slowly moved east, and Ukraine's warm temperatures will begin to ease. And just speaking for myself, the terrifying heat dome that we experienced here in Portland and in the Northwest up into Canada was 30-something degrees over the norm. We were expecting 90. We got closer to 120. This is a terrifying phenomenon that is increasing. And when it comes to immediate and catastrophic deaths, heat domes are the worst. They're worse than hurricanes. But we're expecting very bad hurricanes this year because of this flip, but I'll read more of the details. Ian Livingston writes, this exceptional wintertime warmth comes on the heels of the warmest 2022 and many parts of Europe, including in the UK, Germany, and Switzerland. Extreme heat visited Europe in waves throughout the year and was intensified by a historically severe summer drought. The combination helped push the United Kingdom to 104 degrees for the first time on record in July. Although the warmth is slowly easing in Europe as Arctic air creeps in from the northeast, above normal temperatures are forecast for much of the mainland region through at least January 10th. After that, the forecast is a little less clear, but a cooler pattern could emerge by mid-month. Herrera told The Guardian, quote, we can regard this as the most extreme event in European history, end quote. And again, I've got to stop because we're not seeing it reported that way because, 30 degrees above, 36 degrees above winter temperatures is pleasant to experience. But the implication is monstrous because, of course, 36 degrees above summer temperatures is right.
It's totally deadly
on the horizon. And yes.
And, I'm sorry, as you're pausing for a breath and a thought, I think I will jump in to say what you're saying is absolutely true. The heat domes do kill and are very dangerous events. And yet they're kind of new to us. We've only been talking about them really for the last few years in our parts of the world. And somebody was saying, we don't really get the shocking coverage. We don't see the devastation of a heat dome because it doesn't make real sexy video, right? It's more subtle in the ways it kills folks and crops and trees, forests. It's subtle in that it doesn't provide dramatic footage. It's like actually filming paint drying. You don't see the downed trees and the stuff that makes television viewers sort of go, wow, what just happened with that? And I think that it's good to keep that in mind as we watch coverage of any news. The more sexy video it provides, the more coverage we're going to have of it. Heat domes, they're an interesting mention. There's ways to stay safe, ways to stay cool, but most news reportings of heat domes don't really get into how dangerous they are.
That's why I like the description at the beginning of the book that I loaned you, that I actually
gave me for solstice.
Gave you for solstice.
It's a little like loaning it.
Well, I had been loaning it out on my Kindle before, so I thought of
she
that.
She loaned it to my mom.
Yes, and what's the name of it?
Ministry of the Future.
Ministry of the Future. Okay, and it begins with a description of someone nearly dying as people die around him in a heat wave. And I think that's needed because it's worth discussing the psychosocial phenomenon of denial here. I think straight up denial is happening. I think that there is a fear of considering what may come since there is no precedent. There's no knowledge of what exactly to do first. I have been saying just to say something, but because as far as I can tell, this would be a good course of action. I believe that, I'm sorry, you can call me a doomer if you like. I think that doom is upon us. And just go ahead and say that. And,
doomer.
Yeah. And procedures need to be taken in hand for immediate, at least regional geoengineering cooling efforts. And I believe that I have observed some of this going on in the open and yet secretly because it was not discussed in the press. It's been a few years, but I was on the Twitters with photographs and charts discussing a phenomenon in which we had a warm fall afternoon here in Portland, and I observed 4-engine planes doing Immelman maneuvers over the city. And Immelman maneuver, if you don't know, was invented in World War I. It's something a 4-engine plane doesn't do. I'm going to do it with my hand since this is video. Immelman is being able to come back on your enemy by roll. Let's see, this is not a roll, but this is moving your plane over so that it moves in a curve higher and upside down, and then you flip it so that you're able to regain lift.
It sounds like a crazy Ivan. Okay, never mind. Go on.
Crazy Ivan
It's Firefly.
reversing thrust. So this
You're
is
right.
this is something that you can only do with a very strong airframe.
Sorry, you carry on with your insightful.
My dog is trying to do Immelman maneuvers in the back.
Argo, what did you not go?
And the reason I bring it up specifically is because when I saw that, I knew that what I was watching was not merely a lot of planes crossing coincidentally in one place. It was an effort to lay out contrails to block the sun, and it worked. I believe that we'll see more of this. It's obvious to me that the Pentagon, at least, far be it from me to say good things about the imperial hub of the world, but the Pentagon is actually experimenting with this, evidently. I say the Pentagon because I don't know who else would have the funds to play around with this sort of thing. More of that is going to have to happen, a great deal more of that, especially if another heat dome appears, especially if a lengthy heat dome appears over Portland, over the Northwest, well, anywhere. These forests can burn off pretty easily. The crisis is here now. I feel a little alarmed saying that since I've been saying it for more than 20 years.
Well, it's been a slow crisis, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make it any less a crisis.
Yeah, I guess that we have to experience death amongst ourselves before we will motivate ourselves. We're humans. I don't know what else to say.
Oh, we've been experiencing that. That was the thing.
I've been called Chicken Little over this many times, but it is here. And that same meteorologist, Alex Burkill, is quoted in this piece saying it's been extreme heat over a huge area, which is almost, to be honest, unheard of, speaking of Europe. He said a massive warm air had been generated off the west coast of Africa and moved across Europe. It's been widespread. Denmark, Czech Republic, as well as pretty much the whole Germany have seen temperatures for January exceeding records. But meteorologist Scott Duncan noted that even taking into account the unusually warm sea surface too, it doesn't seem to explain the staggering temperature rises. What climate scientists are sure of, however, is that these anomalous heat waves are going to continue to become more common and more extreme, thanks to global warming. Inevitably, higher temperatures will mean that the severe drought will continue to be the order of the day, slashing crop yields in many parts of the world. In 2022, extreme weather resulted in reduced harvests in China, India, South America, and Europe, increasing food insecurity. And I'll remove myself from the text there for a second and say, of course, here in the U.S., we have the hard cash, the world's hardest cash, just about. And despite the maldistribution of wealth in this country, we are generally able to get our hands on food. This may change this year. Stocks are likely to be lower than normal going into 2023, so another round of poor harvest could be devastating. Resulting food shortages in most countries could drive civil unrest, while rising prices in developed countries will continue to stoke inflation and the cost of living crisis. One of the worst affected regions will be the Southwest U.S. Here, the longest drought in at least 1,200 years has persisted for 22 years so far, reducing the level of Lake Mead on the Colorado River so much that power generation at Hoover Dam has fallen by almost half. And it's only a few months ago that we passed by Hoover Dam. It's a shocking sight if you look at the videos, and the water indeed is pretty close to those intake ports, and once it gets there, it'll be what's called a dead pool. It will cease to flow out the other end of the dam. Power will cease to be generated. Las Vegas lights will go out. The Hoover Dam could follow suit in 24 with the Glen Canyon Dam. Together, these lakes and dams provide water and power for millions of people in 7 states, including California. The breakdown of the supply would be catastrophic for agriculture, industry, and populations right across the region. So that's my Happy New Year content for this morning.
I want to say a little bit on climate change and its effects. You may have been called Chicken Little by people that firmly have their heads up their asses, but really climate the climate chaos, climate catastrophe has been going on. It's not new. It's not going to start sometime in the future. As we predict, as there are predictions that by 2030, which is getting closer all the time, extreme bad things will happen. Um, but until then, I guess we're all fine. It's like that's not the way it works. And this is something that you've talked about many times. And again, naysayers be damned. It's just the facts that as climate disruption, climate chaos goes on, it becomes worse. It's one of those exponential sort of things as the systems that are overstressed and overstimulated start failing and impacting each other. Right? You were talking about that for many years on KBOO in your Press Watch program, and so instead of saying, oh, but nothing's happened yet, no, in fact, things have been happening, but they've been hitting parts of the world that don't have, that are not really the primary causers of the crisis. It's been hitting South Asia, it's been hitting island nations, as storms become more violent, monsoons have been more violent, flooding has become more devastating. It's killing thousands, hundreds of thousands of people.
And it killed 100 people here in the U.S.
Sure,
in Portland.
But for years, is my point. It's been killing thousands, hundreds of thousands of people for years in the global South.
Yes, indeed. And I want to add that during the heat dome, it actually happened here and was reported. But it wasn't reported in a way that really got our attention. And I think the shock wore off pretty easily. If those 100 or 200 people in the region had been brought out to Pioneer Square and machine gunned by a political enemy, we'd still be jumping up and down about it. But they were killed by a heat dome. A lot of them, almost all of them, were actually old, were sick, were dispersed.
Seniors living alone.
But it's already happening that it is directly killing us.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm old and sick. And so I feel lucky that I was spared because I had a place to stay.
Right. And so how can we, getting through this, staying informed, providing support to each other, and try like hell to get the powers that be to behave like there's an adult in the room that would like to protect and preserve life on this planet.
And y'all do. And thank you for the air conditioner, Jabara. It made a difference. And I think that we need to see more of that, more direct mutual aid.
Yeah.
And actually, more air conditioners because, there's something I meant to bring up that the government, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, some of you, and perhaps Ani and I, will be able to get a heat pump essentially free into the house, which will not only reduce the cost of heating in the winter, but also will provide air conditioning. So jump on that. I'm going to start filling out some forms this very day, and perhaps you can do that as well. You can get it either subsidized or, depending on your income, for free. And of course, the demand that is produced for these heat pumps eventually will lower the price, because although they'll spike now, they'll go down because so many will be produced. And I would say by this time in next year, a couple of years, those heat pumps will be quite cheap. Get on them.
All right. So, is that what you have?
Yes, that's it.
That is what she has.
Yes.
Okay. So what I have, as I was thinking about this time, this year, this week in particular, and coming up with the tarot reading for the community for the week, this is what I have. First of all, I want to say thanks to John for the grand nerdly trivia. Thank you so much. I did not know that that we have just passed yesterday the anniversary of that we have just passed the anniversary of the first airing of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on the BBC. And the fact that it was in 1981, and my quick calculations tell me that's 42 years ago. Right? Ooh, significant. Also, that I can remember the hoopla about it being made and aired Oh my God, I'm ancient. Okay. Um, that was my junior year of high school, sophomore. Yeah, right around there. Anyways, thank you so much for being with us on this first full moon of 2023. This is the wolf moon. This is the full moon in Cancer. And it's a wonderful time to really focus a lot of your attention on your family, on gratitude, of course, on nurturing yourself and those close to you, on household projects. This is a time to really emphasize if you have stuff that needs to get done in the house, use some Cancerian lunar energy to sort of get you going in that direction to aid your movement. Um, this is, and also for those of us who are cancers, sometimes we tend to be a little squishier, a little more emotional during the Cancerian full moon, but it's not as hard on us as the Capricorn full moon. This will just be weepy, not snappy.
Oh boy.
Just let her know. Okay, so feeling fine now. Who knows what'll happen? So there I am, distracted as all get out. I've got moving cats, moving dogs, drinky birds. I've got everything going on over here.
This drinky bird oppressing you.
No one's oppressing me, but in fact,
that innocent face. Drinky bird never meant any harm.
The first card I've drawn is about distractions.
Oh, I see.
So
What's over there?
I'll just be looking at the card now and teaching myself something. So here's what I've got for this week. We have the Knight of Wands, the Eight of Swords, and the World. And so what this is the Knight of Wands is again reminding us that we have a lot of energy, but we need to make sure that we're not distracted as we are applying it, right? This would be a card that says there's so much creative juice that you have and that you have access to, that you're accessing, that it's really easy to spin out. It's easy to chase pretty distractions and not continue to focus on your goals and your targets. So make sure, again, I think I've had this card come up in the last couple of readings for the community. So it's sort of a continuation of the last couple weeks, energy-wise, making sure that you're following through on your commitments and not allowing yourself to get distracted by the shiny things as your creativity and your whimsy are kind of kicking into gear. And that's not a bad thing. But if you're leaving a lot of stuff undone, a lot of loose threads because one project is sort of shinier than the last project before it's finished, that cycle of always going for the shinier, the funner, and leaving things undone.
That's hard for me.
That's
the thing that I do.
Well, do not allow distractions to take you away from actually tying things up and finishing them. Because, in fact, what we are doing is we are creating a world of overthinking complications, right? We are creating busyness. We are creating a situation that we can easily fall into and spin out. This card. I love the cat tarot because the images, they speak to me. What can I say? This cat has had such a good time being completely distracted and attacking, the toilet paper rolls that they find themselves tied up in toilet paper. And so again, it's a trap of their own making. It's a trap that is caused by distraction, often by energy going every which direction, by overthinking things. And so it's a call to bring yourself back to center and focus, because in fact that is the way through this time. Conserving your energy, focusing on the needful in front of you, and again focusing on the family as we have the full moon in Cancer right now. So taking care of yourself and your community, and kind of dropping all of the ooh shiny, got to chase that over there. sort of pulls. And as you are able to do this, the world is your oyster. So this is a card that talks about the ending of cycles to begin new things. It's a card that is generally considered pretty fortuitous, as new cycles bring forth new promises, and that's a lovely way to have our first community tarot reading for 2023 end. So that is, again, focus. You have a lot of creative pull right now. Focus that in one direction. Don't chase shadows. Don't chase shiny things. Don't overthink it. Just keep applying yourself. And if you're feeling like you're stuck in a corner, see how you have created that. Is there ways? Are there ways that you have actually played into that? And how can you untangle yourself? And then ultimately seeing that as you untangle yourself, you are beginning a new cycle. And may that cycle be glorious. May it be full of good health, vitality, and fun. May it be full of love and connection as we traverse into 2023 together. That's what I have.
Good focus, witchy priestess.
It's what I do. Right now, it's about all I can do, and it's a wonderful thing. And if anyone would, in fact, like to get a hold of me for witchly services or teachings of tarot or any of that kind of stuff, how do you do the witchy thing? Deepen your meditation and manifestation practices, any of that, please do contact me. You can do that through my website, and I will put that link in the description box on eravenhands.com.
I get to live with this. And it's a wonderful thing.
I was going to say, watch how you say that.
Yeah.
Oh, I get to, not have to. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
I know, a little column A.
Right. Well, I want to say that, after putting out all that gloom and doom, actually, I feel good about this year. Probably because personally my health is coming back, although today I am pretty much underwater. Thank you for your forbearance. I almost didn't do the show because, sometimes you get a little bug. It's not a big deal. It's just a stomach bug, but it's just, my best and highest action right now is to go back to sleep, I think. But these things are worth considering. So thanks for tuning in. And I think that's about it, isn't it?
It's all I have.
Wrap up.
Thank you so much for being with us. We will join you again. Happy Epiphany. Happy King's Day. Fuck the second anniversary of the attempted insurrection. All of those things that come together.
Rebellion.
And thanks very much for joining us.
Our love goes out to you and to all the ships at sea.
Cheery bye. See you soon.
Bye.
Drinky bird.
My favorite. He's the last surviving one.
Oh, Drinky. He's got a good